Hello, I'm Ian McCormack and I'm the Deputy Director for the Government team within the National Cyber Security Centre. The cyber threat landscape is ever evolving, and events over the last year, and in particular over the last few months alone, have proven the importance of our collective security. It's vital that we ensure that fundamental security measures are in place to protect our networks and our systems. So we're going to be discussing, are UK organisations prepared for cyber attacks? What more could we be doing, and what have we learnt so far from working together? So I've got a great panel for us today to discuss these topics. So if I could ask my panellists to introduce themselves, please.
Hello, yes, thank you, Ian. So I'm Michaela Hart. I'm the Director for Enterprise Security at BT.
And thanks, Ian. My name is Stan Hernandez. I'm a Principal Solutions Architect for Security and Compliance with AWS. I cover EMEA, and I help AWS customers to learn about our services and create secure and robust architectures.
Brilliant, thank you. So let's kick straight into our first question. We're all in a period of heightened threat. So how have you been working to improve resilience? And perhaps if we start with you, Michaela.
Yeah, no, we absolutely are, Ian. And, at BT, we're always a target. We are a provider of critical national infrastructure. And we know that, now more than ever, sort of the networks that we provide and the services that run over our network are incredibly important to people. Therefore, we always have a comprehensive range of protections in place. But of course, with the geopolitical situation, this has put us on heightened alert. There are a number of ways in which we've responded. We're working closely with industry and government partners, such as yourselves at the NCSC, to ensure that we have the latest intelligence on the threats and on the trends, and that we're using that intelligence to put in targeted monitoring for both ourselves, our network, and those of our customers that we manage and take care of. We've also taken steps to ensure that the fundamentals of best security practice are adopted and adhered to by the 100,000 staff that we have in BT. So making sure that their security awareness training is current and making sure that they're sort of enabling what we refer to as the human firewall. We undertake a constant assessment on our IT estate, and we make sure that our basic hygiene is good and that we've got the vulnerabilities and that we're addressing those through a really proactive patching campaign. And then for us, I guess the final element is applying that same rigour to our supply chain. So making sure that we're not open to vulnerabilities through sort of the supply chain and any weaknesses in that supply chain.
Brilliant, thank you. And Esteban, from your side.
Thanks, Ken. From our side, let me start by quoting Bernard Vogel's Amazon CTO. He repeatedly says that everything fails all the time. And that's why we think resilience is very important, and those principles and that thinking has gone into creating our AWS's global infrastructure. So to talk a little bit about that global infrastructure, when our customers trust us with their information and put it in one of our regions, these regions are composed by different availability zones. And let's think about availability zones like a cluster of data centers. These all have different risk profiles. They have redundancy in power, they have redundancy in communications. And these are the common building blocks that us and our customers can use to build their applications. So if a customer decides to use something like S3, which is a managed service, they can put perhaps save this storage, this object for me in S3. Those components are automatically applied for them. We remove that undifferentiated heavy lifting and then copy that information across the different availability zones. And that's how we achieve 11 nines of durability. When our customers, on the other side, are building their applications for something like, let's say, using EC2, they need to take these things into consideration. So we continuously encourage our customers to apply the best practices, spread workloads across availability zones. We have aggregated these different best practices in something that we call the well-architected framework, that it provides best practices across 5 different pillars, and in particular, the resiliency pillar is the one that is more important here. We haven't stopped there to help keep building the resiliency across the community. So we also created something that is called the Resiliency Hub, and the Resiliency Hub can help customers by providing them actionable advice and helping them to identify things like single points of failure across their different applications and workloads. So that's how we will be working together, trying to put all of this knowledge back into the customer's hands.
That's great. Thank you both. Thank you, Esteban. Okay, so just think about industry partnerships. Industry partnerships are absolutely vital to NCSC in helping us to deliver the mission. How does industry benefit from government collaboration? Perhaps if we start with you again, Michaela.
Sure. So I think industry benefits hugely from that collaboration. And, at BT, we collaborate with the NCSC, UK government, and then also sort of other agencies across the globe. And I think one of the most important things is actually the sharing of threat intelligence. So making sure that sort of we can take that threat intelligence and we can actually share that with our customers so that they can apply that and they can use that advice to sort of inform their security strategies and their proactive sort of mitigations that they're taking. We've also aligned with the NCSC to push out key messages to UK citizens, and we've been sort of working very closely with you on the cyber aware messaging, and we've actually been sharing that across BT Communications. And then likewise, a big part of our customer base are smaller businesses within the UK, and so again, collaborating with NCSC on the small business guide is something that we see as really important. So I think there's a number of initiatives, and I think again that collective sharing of intelligence and then actually practically how businesses can use that intelligence and implement it is a huge benefit to all.
Thank you. And Esteban.
So I definitely agree with these points, and it's key. I think that cyber threat intelligence is what is going to make the difference. We are beyond the point that trying to do this by anyone on its own is impossible. And especially this collaboration between the industry and public and private sector is going to make the difference to customers and citizens overall. Sharing information is the only way that we can actually help protect each other. And when we talk about AWS, we have visibility across different industries, across the customers of different sizes, and that helps us to, some of these customers are in the most highly regulated industries. So whatever we learned, whenever we see a trend or when we improve our services because there is a change in requirements on these highly regulated customers, we make those changes and include those into, we make them to the service and then make these available to all of the customers that are using that service. And that's one way that we help to spread that, not only that knowledge, but that cyber threat intelligence in the collaborations that we have. Let's say if that service was to be something like Amazon Guard Duty, which is our threat detection service, that's not only carrying that threat intelligence information that is gathered by Amazon, but it's also including things, threat intelligence feeds from partners like CrowdStrike and Proofpoint, providing that diversity of sources. And that's how this becomes available to all of the different customers of AWS. Or we have other partners like, could be the case of Iron Dome that have created IronNet, that have solutions like Iron Dome that have created a way for different customers or users of this solution to share information across an industry that may not be normally communicating with each other. So anything that helps promoting and creating that community is going to take us to the next level. I also see that there is more and more appetite from governments across the globe to implement that information sharing capability as has been implemented by the NCSC and modeling the information sharing of the future.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. And it's fantastic to hear about some of those benefits as well. Okay, so moving on, what have you found to be some of the biggest challenges for organisations when addressing cybersecurity? And if we go back to you, Michaela.
So I think one of the biggest issues that all organisations face is the sheer volume of data, and that's both the sort of the data within their business and the data they're protecting, but also the data that's generated by the tools that they're using to monitor their security and to monitor their IT estates. And I think that creates a real challenge for organisations. We sort of use an expression of sort of almost data fatigue. Analysts have got so much data in front of them that it's really difficult for them to identify what's relevant and what are the most important things for them to respond to. And so that's a challenge that many of our customers sort of raise with us and that we're trying to solve for them. And I think linked to that is also the pace of change. And that's both the pace of change within businesses, but also with the threat landscape as well. And so that means that actually businesses are having to continually assess their risk and assess the systems that they have in place, assess the monitoring that they have in place to make sure that they are actually keeping pace with the change in their business, whilst not actually impacting or reducing their sort of cyber posture, security posture. And I think also understanding those important connections between third parties. So as I sort of touched on a little bit earlier, it's great when you've got good hygiene and you're strong and confident in the security that you have in place, but actually are the vulnerabilities in your supply chain that could be an issue for you. And I think the final thing that I'll touch on that we see as a sort of industry-wide issue is actually the cyber skills gap. So, there's a huge shortage of sort of people taking up cyber roles. And again, that's a constant theme from our customers. It's something we think long and hard about within BT. And actually, we've run, a number of graduate and apprentice programs for a number of years. But actually, more recently, to address that, we're actually investing in a cyber reskilling program as well, so that we're not just bringing in early career talent, but what we're doing is actually developing people established in their careers and developing their cyber skills, but a very common theme across sort of all of the customer conversations that we're having.
Thank you. And Esteban?
So on my side, what I see is whenever you're in this moment of heightened threat, it's quite tempting to go and try to get those big ticket items deployed. And these big ticket items have big value perception, have big budgets, big complexity as well. And they do take time to put in place, right? And while I understand that this will deliver value and this will be necessary, I always encourage customers to rethink things and continue pursuing this, but these can be distractors as well. So if they refocus and back to the foundations and focus in being really good at cyber hygiene, applying, this might be a more boring answer that anyone can expect, but in reality, if we're good at patching, if you are getting alerts, are you putting attention to them? Are you looking at them and doing something about it? If you have an incident, do you take enough time to do what we call a correction of error, but it's basically a root cause analysis? If you're doing all of those things, you're going to make huge impact to your cybersecurity posture, and it takes relatively small effort to deliver great benefits now. So that's one of the things that I see as the challenges is resisting the temptation to always go for the big things, focus on the foundations. And the other thing that I see as well, and this is an intersection point with what Michaela was saying, is the cyber skills gap. We also see it as a common thread across different customers. I believe that we need to start tapping more diverse candidates, helping them through implementing different things like perhaps mentoring programs that can help them to understand if the cybersecurity career is for them, and if it is, where to start. There are many times that these valuable candidates don't know where to start. So, anything that helps in that. There are many programs that we have around helping with the skills in cloud. We just run our London Summit, which is a learning event where customers can go, or non-customers can go and learn about AWS technologies. It has a lot of security topics, but that's only part of the solution.
Brilliant, thank you. And I really recognise some of those challenges, especially the skills gap that you've both mentioned there. And it's great to hear just a little bit about some of the initiatives that you've both described. Okay, well that's it for this session. So Michaela, Esteban, I'd just like to thank you hugely for providing those really insightful remarks and views. Thank you.